Welcome back to The Beat. Join us now on set is Dr. Linda Larrivee, the Dean of Education, Health, and Natural Sciences. Dr. Larrivee, thank you so much for being on set with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So how long have you been at Worcester State for?
So I was hired in 2000, so I've been here for 17 years. I started here as a professor in the Communication Sciences and Disorders Department.
What kind of classes did you teach there?
So I taught, my background is in speech-language pathology, and I specialize in children with speech-language disorders. And I taught courses in language disorders in children, normal development of speech and language, assessment issues, and several others. I also specialize in reading disorders, so I taught courses in reading and writing disorders.
And so after that, when did you become the dean?
So I was the chair of that department for 9 years, and about 6 years ago, the then provost asked me if I would step in as an interim dean because the dean at the time was retiring. I stepped in for 6 months, and I never really thought that was my career path, to tell the truth. And then I went back to faculty, and after a year, they came back and asked me if I would apply again. And so now I've been the permanent dean for 4 years.
Exciting. And have you always been professionally at Worcester State?
No. Prior to Worcester State, I was a faculty member at the University of Missouri in Columbia.
So what exactly is your role as the Dean of Education, Health, and Natural Sciences?
So my role is I oversee 10 departments in the School of Education, Health, and Natural Sciences. And of those 10 departments, the departments encompass approximately 20 major and minor fields of study. There's undergraduate fields in there as well as graduate fields of study. I also oversee 5 different centers.
Okay, so which major has the highest enrollment out of those 10 departments?
Well, that's a good question. It really depends on what you mean by enrollment. So if you mean undergraduate enrollment or graduate and undergraduate enrollment, so I'll give you a general answer. Of the 10 departments, so why don't I just tell you what they are. So they are biology, chemistry, earth, environment, and physics, communication sciences and disorders, nursing, occupational therapy, health sciences, education, mathematics, and and computer science. I almost forgot that one. So of those, right now, the ones that are really the highest enrollment are nursing, biology, biotechnology. The nursing department has so many different tracks. It also has 2 different kinds of master's degrees, so they have quite a number of students, both on campus and in a satellite program we have at UMass Memorial Medical Center.
So we always need nurses in our world.
So true.
But why do you think those 3 sections are the most popular among undergraduates?
I think you just hit the nail on the head as far as nursing. Nursing also tends to be a profession that people think about very early in their life and may identify for one reason or another that this is the field that they want to go into. So maybe they had a relative that had an illness, maybe they saw a show about nursing, maybe they themselves had gone through some kind of difficulty as a child or saw a sibling go through that, and they think very early that this is a field that I want to go into. So I think one of the reasons that nursing and some of these other professional fields like occupational therapy and speech-language pathology remain very popular is that for some students, they want to see what will this degree do for me? Where will I be at the end of the 4 years? And those are the kinds of fields that is the answer to. As far as biology, and the reason that biology and biotech are very popular right now is, I think, and maybe we'll get into discussing it later, is it's one of the larger STEM fields. Then there's so much that you can do with a biology degree or a biotechnology degree.
Okay, so let's jump ahead a little bit and we'll circle back to my other questions. But can you explain exactly what the term STEM is for our
Sure.
viewers?
Sure. STEM is actually a relatively, in education, a relatively newer term. It stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And at Worcester State, that would encompass the fields that we have here are computer science, mathematics, biology, biotechnology, chemistry, environmental sciences, and physics. And basically, what the field is, it's a term that really is used when we talk about social and curricular changes. It has a lot of implications for education, but also implications for the needs in the workforce in America.
Is there any advice that you give to a student who might be interested in enrolling in a STEM major?
I think that I'd give anyone who's interested in a STEM major the same advice I'd give somebody who's interested in any major. You really need to be thinking about who you are and what you want to learn more about. What is it that you want to study? What is it that interests you and gets you excited to learn more about the world?
Now, as a dean, you are responsible for overseeing centers on campus. Is there any centers that you yourself oversee?
I oversee 5 centers. All of them are very active and exciting centers. We have 4 that are mostly internal facing that I oversee and 1 that's very external. So let me talk about the 4 internal ones. I oversee the Issaquah STEM Center. The Issaquah STEM Center's main focus is in looking at best practices in the education and research of STEM fields, specifically in how we look at the curriculum to best serve the students. So that's the Issaquah STEM Center. We also have a math center, and the math center is only about 2 years old, but its whole job is to assure that there is a support system in place for all students who either take mathematics courses or any course that has a math component. So for example, let's say a student is taking a pharmacology class in nursing that has a strong math component. If they struggle with the math such that it interferes with their ability to learn the entire subject, they can go to the math center and receive support in that area. So that's the math center. I also oversee the Center for Interdisciplinary Health Research and Practice, and that is a center that really coordinates all of the projects on this campus that have anything to do with health-related issues. So we do a lot of work with the Worcester Public Health Department and their Community Health Improvement Plan. The center also works with grants to help students and with support going into these kinds of fields. The 4th center I oversee is the Center for Pre-K through 12. And that's a center that helps to coordinate all of the initiatives at Worcester State University that are associated with the public and private schools, pre-K through 12. And you'd be surprised at how many different departments and how many different initiatives there are at Worcester State that are working with the children and the teachers of the public schools in Worcester and in the surrounding towns. So we help to coordinate it, so we make sure that not one school is overburdened and that we are really working in the community much more in general than just like our next door neighbors. The final center is the one that I talked about as being a little bit more externally facing. So you could see that by what I talked about those other 4 centers, it really focused on what's going on at Worcester State and how what's going on at Worcester State impacts the community. The last center is the one that's been here probably the longest of any center at Worcester State itself, and that's the Worcester State University Speech Language Hearing Center. It provides speech, language, and hearing services for the community. And by the community, I mean the Worcester State community, but also the greater Worcester community. So that anybody who has in the greater Worcester community or on this campus, any kind of speech, language, or hearing disorder can come and receive services to support them and help them with strategies.
It really sounds like there's a lot there that offers for a lot of people. Myself, I utilize the Math Center a lot because I'm a poor math student. Do you see value in all of these centers, even for like kids that don't go here?
Oh.
Especially that last one for the speech one.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that last one, the Worcester State University Speech Language Hearing Center really sees people from, I'm not kidding, from like 1 year old to like 99 years old. So if you want to talk about kids, we support very young, in the Speech Language Hearing Center, very young children who might have difficulty learning their language or have problems with the sounds of their language, or people who stutter and have difficulty getting their words out. For older individuals who come to the clinic, we do work there on, with people who have had strokes or who have had some other type of brain injury, who have lost the ability to communicate effectively. And so there's a lot of help that's given to people of all ages there.
That's a really amazing center. What is your area of research specifically?
So as I mentioned to you earlier, my background is in speech language pathology, and I continue to do some work in that area. Yeah. Right now, my most recent research has been in working actually with the Worcester Art Museum. And the projects that we've done is how to train the students who work there, as well as the adult docents, on the best ways to communicate with their patrons so that everyone gets the benefit of the university. So specifically, if somebody comes in and as a patron of the museum, how do you best speak to that person if that person has had a stroke or has a hearing impairment or speaks English as a second language? So we've done some studies on training what is called clear speech in the volunteers at the museum, so that when these patrons come in, they know better techniques that might sound for you as a broadcaster as being very, well, everybody should know this, but looking at somebody when you talk to them rather than looking away, speaking clearly, and there's a few other strategies. And so we've looked at how much does pre and post, how much change can we effect in people's ability to communicate clearly, and how much does that affect a patron's experience in the museum.
Wow.
But I also do research in the scholarship of teaching and learning too. So what are the best practices, what best helps students to move forward.
That's amazing. You do a lot of really cool work.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, of course, yeah. We're almost out of time today, but one thing that I do want to know is there any new initiatives or programs in the School of Education, Health, and Natural Sciences that you want to let our viewers know about? Anything upcoming for maybe like the following years?
Yeah, well, one of them that I'm really excited about is through the Issaquah STEM Center. So, and it's also part of my research when I was talking about the scholarship of teaching and learning. One of the initiatives that we have going there is one that's called supplemental instruction. So what we know is that in the STEM fields, there's quite a bit of attrition after the first year. And so there's research trying to look into why that happens. And one of the things that has been found is that sometimes in some of those initial freshman level STEM courses, students need quite a bit of support so that they can move on to the next level. So what we did was we've had a couple of different grants that have supported peer-assisted learning. And we hire students who are in the upper level classes who help to facilitate specific types of sessions with students in these entry-level classes, and we're collecting data to see, does this affect retention in the STEM fields, in the STEM departments, and does it affect does it have a positive effect on grades?
And what are you finding so far?
So far, we're looking, everything looks very positive. If a student takes advantage of these specific sessions, this supplemental instruction that is led by a student tutor, and it's a very specific kind of tutoring. It's all group tutoring that encourages the critical thinking and the problem solving in the field. When students take advantage of it, they have better grades, and the students who are taking advantage of it tend to have a higher percentage of them go on to the next years in the STEM fields.
That's awesome. I'm really, really happy that there's so much work that you're doing to really ensure that as many students as we can succeed here really amazingly.
That's my goal.
I really want to thank you for coming on, Dr. Linda.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have for today on The Beat. As always, we hope you learned something new and exciting about Worcester State. Reporting for The Beat, I'm RJ Sheedy. So long, everybody.